Every day, Michael McCauley follows the same routine. Before heading out for his daily commute, he spends time with his wife Karen and their son Danny, helping him with his literature assignments before Karen drops him off. On the drive, they talk about the mounting tuition expenses, hoping they can manage the payments. At the train station, Mike boards the same train he's been taking for the past 10 years. Over time, he's become familiar with other regular commuters, including his friend Walt. Mike works as a life insurance salesman, but today is different. His boss calls him into the office with devastating news. After a decade of service, he's being laid off. Mike protests, explaining that he has 2 mortgages, a son heading to college, and only 5 years until retirement, but it's no use. His pleas fall on deaf ears. Stunned, everything around him becomes a blur. He and Karen are already struggling to make ends meet, and now he has no idea what to do next. When Karen calls to check in and remind him about the upcoming payments, he can't bring himself to tell her the truth. Instead, he heads to a bar where he meets his longtime friend, Officer Alex Murphy, his former partner back when he was a detective. As they chat, a news report flashes on the TV. Some city planner allegedly jumped to his death a few nights ago. The story barely registers before Mike confesses that he hasn't told Karen about his firing yet. Their conversation is interrupted by another discovery. Dave Hawthorne, a colleague they both despise, has been promoted to captain. Before parting ways, Alex and Mike exchange an old saying between them: "Doing the right thing will get you killed. There's no such thing as being noble." At the station, security is conducting bag checks. While waiting, Mike notices a nervous man on the phone muttering that he can't do it. Meanwhile, one of the regular commuters complains about the hassle of the security checks. As Mike boards the train, a man bumps into him, and moments later, he realizes his phone is missing. Nearby, another passenger walks by, talking on the phone about something big happening tonight. The train ride grows more chaotic. The distressed Hispanic woman struggles to stay cool in a car with a broken AC. A young couple argues, tension escalating as the boy tries to get aggressive. Meanwhile, a well-dressed man loudly brags about his expensive suit, dismissing a woman's request to lower his voice by insulting her 99-cent perfume. Annoyed, she changes seats. Mike settles into his seat only to be joined by a mysterious woman named Joanna. Their conversation starts off casual, but then she drops a bombshell. There's a hidden compartment on the train containing $25,000 in cash, with another $75,000 waiting for him if he completes a simple task. She wants him to find someone on the train who doesn't belong. Someone traveling under the alias Prin. This person is carrying a stolen item in their bag. He has until the train reaches Cold Spring to figure it out. Mike is skeptical, but Joanna's parting words send a chill down his spine. She knows he's a former cop, and he better not tell anyone about this conversation. Shaken, Mike checks the compartment she mentioned and sure enough finds the money. The temptation to take it and walk away is strong, but before he can make a decision, a young woman approaches him, claiming the money isn't his. Instead of arguing, she hands him an envelope, a warning. Inside, Mike finds Karen's wedding ring. His blood runs cold. Someone is watching his family. Realizing how serious the situation is, Mike springs into action. With no phone of his own, he borrows one from a fellow passenger, Tony. He tracks down Walt and quickly writes a note on a paper. "Call the police. My family is in danger." As he hands it over, he feels eyes on him. A man in the background is watching closely. Mike leaves Walt the newspaper and frantically tries to call Karen, but she doesn't answer. He dials Alex next, no response. He leaves a message hoping his friend will call back. As Walt exits the train, Mike spots a man he'd noticed earlier rushing in with a bag. Before he can process it, Joanna calls him again. She directs his attention outside the window, just in time for him to see Walt stepping off the curb heading toward the cops. Before he can reach them, a man working with Joanna violently shoves him into the path of an oncoming bus. Walt is killed instantly. Joanna's voice is cold and firm. "This is what happens when you try to run." The warning is crystal clear. She orders Mike to locate Prin and plant a tracking device, one they've already slipped into his pocket. If he wants his family safe, he has no choice. Shaken but determined, Mike returns Tony's phone and checks the route. Cold Spring is in Zone 7. That's the destination he needs to focus on. He scans the train, narrowing down potential suspects, passengers with tickets marked for Zone 7. A man in a red shirt, an empty seat, a Hispanic woman, an African-American man, a girl with colored hair, a stockbroker. Mike approaches the stockbroker first. He's never seen him before, and that's enough reason to be suspicious. But when Mike questions him about Cold Spring, the man scoffs, insults him, and dismisses him as poor. Annoyed, Mike flips him off and moves on. Next, he tries talking to the girl with colored hair, but she quickly excuses herself. Suspicious, Mike follows and grabs her bag, only to find she's carrying fake IDs for her boyfriend. She's not the one he's looking for. Then an idea strikes. He discreetly approaches a conductor and points out a few passengers who seem off, suggesting a security bag check for everyone heading to Cold Spring. The conductor plays along and approaches the Hispanic woman under the pretense of a routine check, but when he asks to inspect her bag, she resists. A scuffle breaks out. Amidst the chaos, Mike notices something. The tattooed man from the first stop is still here, and he's also heading to Cold Spring. Now he's certain. He follows the man into the next car, but the moment he gets too close, the guy turns and attacks. A brutal fight erupts. The man is strong, landing blows, but Mike holds his ground. When he hears the name Prin, the man hesitates. Just enough time for Mike to slip the tracker into his bag. Satisfied, he allows himself to lose the fight, letting the man think he got away clean. Catching his breath, Mike barely has time to recover before Tony's phone rings. It's Alex. Finally, some backup. Alex assures him that he's sent agents to check on Karen and Danny. Mike quickly explains everything: the 100 grand, the setup, the threat to his family, and Walt's murder. That's when Alex drops another bombshell. A witness named Prin recently reported seeing two men throw a city official to his death. Everything clicks. Mike realizes that Prin is a target, meant to be silenced before they can testify. Worse, he is being set up to take the fall. The call suddenly cuts out as the train enters a tunnel. Meanwhile, at Cold Spring Station, two agents are already waiting for the witness. They have 20 minutes until the train arrives. Back on the train, passengers are starting to notice Mike's erratic behavior. He keeps moving between cars, drawing nervous glances. Something feels off. Then, in an empty car, he finds the tattooed man's bag and opens it. His gut tightens. Inside are personal belongings and a missing gun. Then a sound, a phone rings. Mike follows the noise to a horrifying discovery: the real tattooed man's dead body. A badge is still clipped to his belt. He was an FBI agent. Before he can react, his phone rings. Joanna. Her voice is filled with venom. "You picked the wrong person. That man is dead because of you." Mike demands to know if his family is safe. She reassures him, as long as he does what he's told. Then she proves she's in complete control. Through the phone, Mike hears his wife's voice, followed by a stranger's. A man has arrived at his home, claiming to be there on Mike's behalf. The sound of his family's fear is enough to make his blood run cold. Joanna cuts the transmission short with one final order: stay on the train. Don't get caught. But it's too late. Some passengers have already reported Mike's suspicious behavior, and the train is being stopped for an investigation. Thinking fast, Mike hides the dead FBI agent's body while the police sweep the train. He desperately tries to open a door to escape, but it won't budge. Crawling under the train, he rolls between the wheels just as it starts moving again. With seconds to spare, he manages to jump back onto the train, but his bag gets snagged. When he pulls it free, the money inside bursts into the air, scattering into the wind. All that remains is a single $100 bill. Joanna calls again. 2 stops left. Mike is out of time. Desperate, he turns off the AC in every car except the last one, forcing all passengers to crowd together. Now, with everyone in one place, he makes his next move. He sits down at a card game with the man in the red shirt and Tony, casually asking why he's on the train. The man brushes him off. That's when Mike changes tactics. He raises his voice, loud enough for everyone to hear. He starts talking about getting fired, about how he couldn't bring himself to tell his wife. Then his words shift, turning into a carefully crafted message. He speaks hypothetically about a passenger on this very train, someone who doesn't belong, someone carrying a bag with something stolen inside, and most importantly, about the reward. As the tension in the car builds, Mike plays out the exact scenario Joanna described: everyone gathered in one place, and the suspicion thick in the air. Tony, still trying to make sense of things, asks what Mike would do in a situation like this. Would he take the money? Mike doesn't lie, he already did. Scanning the remaining passengers, he narrows down his suspects, 5 people who don't seem to belong. But when Tony points out that the man playing cards with him is actually a regular monthly commuter, Mike moves on, shifting his attention to Oliver, a guitarist heading toward an empty car. Following him, Mike quickly realizes Oliver isn't just a musician, he's an assassin. The fight is brutal. Oliver comes at him with everything he's got, throwing punches and trying to gain the upper hand. The brawl intensifies until they slam against a window, shattering the glass. With deadly intent, Oliver attempts to shove Mike out of the moving train. But Mike fights back, using every ounce of strength to overpower him. With a final surge, he sends Oliver flying out of the train, eliminating one more threat. Joanna calls almost immediately. Her voice is calm, but her words are chilling. "Take the gun, Mike. It's either Prin or your family. Time is running out." At the next stop, the arrogant man in the expensive suit exits, narrowing the list of suspects to just 2. But Mike has already ruled out the girl with the colorful hair. That leaves one person, Eva, the Hispanic woman who keeps getting messages on her phone. Suspicious, Mike sits across from her, staring her down. When he asks why she's going to Cold Spring, she brushes him off. That's not good enough. He grabs her phone, convinced she's communicating with Joanna. When she tries to take it back, he pulls a gun on her. Terrified, Eva breaks down. She isn't involved. She had a fight with her partner and was just trying to make amends. Realizing his mistake, Mike lowers his weapon and apologizes. And then it hits him. Prin isn't anyone he's suspected. He's been looking in the wrong place the entire time. A memory resurfaces. The young woman who changed seats earlier to get away from the obnoxious passenger. She's been keeping to herself, lost in her music, unaware of the chaos unfolding around her. He approaches her, heart pounding. Her name is Sophia. Prin comes from her love for literature. Her nickname is based on the protagonist of The Scarlet Letter, Hester Prynne. Before he can act, Joanna calls again. She gives him one last chance. Turn her over. Kill her, or your family dies. Mike refuses. Joanna's voice hardens. Then everyone on this train dies. The train barrels toward Cold Spring, where 2 FBI agents are waiting. Mike turns to Sam, one of the conductors. If he wants to survive, he needs to stop the train. Sam pulls the emergency brake, but nothing happens. Instead, a massive explosion erupts from the brake system. The train doesn't slow down, it speeds up. The engineer is dead and the train is now a runaway. Panic spreads as passengers realize they are on a collision course with disaster. Thinking fast, Mike and Sam scramble to detach the final car from the rest of the train. With incredible effort, they manage to free it, but a heavy chain still connects them. With no other choice, Mike makes a desperate leap onto the other car, his only hope of stopping the train before it's too late. With the train hurtling toward disaster, Sam grabs an axe and leaps over to Mike. Together, they fight to free the last remaining chain connecting their car to the runaway front section. But before they can cut it loose, the train begins to derail. The front cars lurch violently, lift off the tracks, and crash into the air. At the last possible second, the chain snaps. Mike is flung backward onto the final car, barely escaping the wreckage, while Sam is left behind as the front section is torn apart in a fiery crash. As their own car skids off the rails, Mike braces for impact. The train screeches across the tracks, metal grinding against metal, before finally coming to a jolting, nerve-shattering stop at the edge of a train yard. Chaos erupts. Passengers panic, scrambling to escape. Before they can flood out, Mike fires a shot into the air, commanding attention. It's not over yet. He orders everyone to grab newspapers and spray water onto the windows to block visibility from the outside. As the adrenaline fades, the passengers settle down. Turning to Sophia, he asks the big question. What do they want from you? Sophia hesitates before revealing a flash drive. It holds sensitive information, a secret that the murdered city planner, a friend of hers, had uncovered. That's why she's been targeted. She also confesses why she didn't go to the police, because the killers were the police. Then she recalls something chilling. One of the men she saw mentioned the phrase, being noble. Mike stiffens. That's not just any phrase, it's something he and Alex used to say. He asks her who she told about the information. She only ever mentioned it to Agent Garcia. Outside, police and SWAT teams surround the train, convinced that Mike is holding the passengers hostage. Over the loudspeaker, his former colleague, Captain Dave Hawthorne, demands that he surrender. Inside, Mike keeps everyone calm. Then Alex arrives. He urges Mike to surrender peacefully. Trying to buy time, Mike helps a large group of passengers leave, leaving only a few behind. He quickly disables a wire, preventing further surveillance. Then Dave gives a curious order. He tells the police to follow the blue-tagged individual inside the train. Something isn't right. Mike turns to Alex. He presses him for answers. What does he know about all of this? That's when Alex mutters the phrase, "There's no such thing as noble," the same phrase Sophia heard from one of the killers. Realization crashes over Mike. Alex is involved. At first, Alex denies it, but then he cracks, admitting that he set Mike up. He knew Mike was desperate for money and lured him into the conspiracy. But he insists it's not too late. If Mike surrenders now, he can still see his family again. Mike isn't buying it. Alex tells him he has his own family to think about too. That's why he did it. Then he makes his move. He goes looking for Sophia, intending to turn her in. But before he can find her, the remaining passengers stand up one by one, claiming they are Prynne. Alex is thrown off. Mike and Alex fight. The struggle is intense. Punches land hard, and the two former partners battle for control as the SWAT snipers outside search for a clean shot. During the fight, Mike swipes Alex's tracking device, planting it elsewhere to throw off the police. Then Alex pulls his gun. From outside, Dave sees the weapon and gives the order. Take the shot. A sniper fires. Alex is killed instantly. The SWAT team storms the train. Everything happens fast. Agent Garcia arrives and assures Mike that his family is safe. They've already arrested 3 men outside his house, members of the same corrupt faction behind everything. Sophia is taken into protective custody, where she makes her official witness statement. The other passengers, having seen everything firsthand, now look at Mike as a hero. Reunited with his family, he hands Karen back her wedding ring. Later, Mike speaks with Dave. The department is launching a full investigation into Alex and his possible accomplices. Before leaving, Dave makes an interesting suggestion. If Mike ever wants to come back to his old job as a detective, the door might be open. Sometime later, Mike is back on the train, blending into the crowd. But he's not here to commute, he's here for her. Across the car, Joanna sits calmly, pretending she doesn't know him. But Mike isn't fooled. He confronts her, laying it all out. He knows she manipulated him, made sure he got fired, and put Sophia on that train with him for a reason. She orchestrated the entire thing. Joanna just smirks, playing innocent. Then Mike pulls out something from his pocket. A detective badge. She finally looks at him, her smirk faltering just slightly. Mike just smiles. Game over. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.